What's up, guys? Let's do this. Uh-oh. I got a microphone going on here. A little speaker. Maybe you guys won't be able to hear it. Anyway, I got Comic Can set up. I'm having technical difficulties and I can hear myself through the speaker, but we're going to do this. Good morning. Welcome to this rainy Sunday morning, even though it's not in the title. How ironic. I don't title it Rainy Sunday, and we got a good little rain that was going on last night. So anyway, yesterday, I wasn't going to do it. This always happens. I have not been to a convention this summer. A lot of antique shops, a lot of yard sales, a lot of flea markets. Yeah. And it was the 30th anniversary of the Salem, Virginia Vintage Show. You can go to Simply Incredible Podcast. He's got the correct title to it. And see if I can turn the volume down on this. But anyway, it was a great show, 30th anniversary, and I've been going to that thing probably off and on for 20 years. Actually, on Facebook, there's some cosplaying I did in the 90s. I have pictures of and stuff. So anyway, so what was so great about the show, though, was I was able to get with the crew. Some of my friends and stuff. The last 2 years, we haven't really got to do anything because of the pandemic and everything that was going on. And also, it's getting to where I know a lot of these vendors and stuff over the years. It seems like over the years, I'd get to know the vendors. Some would fade away. Some have stuck with it. A lot of these guys have been doing this for decades. So it was good to get back to a grassroots comic book convention, talk comics with the real comic book collectors, and hear a few opinions that you hear when you're not online, when you're not a part of the YouTube thing, when you're not part of the message boards and sites and movements and anti this and that and everything, right? And we had a great lunch. I met a guy named David who recognized me from the channel. Shout out to David there. Maybe one day he'll pop on here. Well, I could give him some contact information. Really nice guy. We used to work in a comic book shop back in the day. And then saw Gary Kaiser, saw Simply Incredible Podcast for a second there to the regular crew. These guys, some of these people that you hear me talk about over the years and stuff, right? And then we ended up having a little lunch, hit a little Ollie's, had a little talk, and it was just fantastic. Good day. And what was ironic about it is that I wasn't going to go, but I only slept 4 hours on Friday. I was laying there at 5:30 in the bed, like, I guess I'm going. And if you've watched the channel over the years, you've seen me move 3 or 4 times over the past decade and stuff. And I'm at a place now where all these places are about 30 minutes to 45 minutes extra of a drive. I actually was going to make a proper video. I shot footage of going through tunnels and being on back roads and being on 77 and 81 and all the major highways and seeing the mountains and the beautiful drive that's on the way there. But I know this is what we're going to do because this is the first day that I have been home by myself without being sick, without having to work, without having to do anything. I might read comics and take a nap and clean out the refrigerator. You know, that's YouTube thing for you right there. So, and then as I continue to install, let a few people pop in here. Go back Friday night on this channel, Cavern of Chaos returned for a night from that it started here. It's been on Jared Osborne's channel, and now it's back here. And Friday night we had a party. Oh my God, the Cavern of Chaos show returned to the planet of the comic book collectors is the title. If there's one show that I kind of recommend people go and watch, it's that one. We had Graphic Man. We had tons of people on there. The Breen was there. We had Paolo there, Jared Osborne there. I mean, just people were rolling in, rolling out, and a lot of great in-depth comic book talk. But the greatest thing that happened was that we had Horror Mike in the comments having a little tit for tat with Paolo, and he ended up getting on. I had to leave for 20 minutes, came back, and they had worked everything out on some comic book history. It was a party. It was fantastic. And it's one of my favorite things I've probably done on YouTube over the years just because of the way it went down. So go check that out. Now, what I have here is between the 3 books I got from eBay, probably the 58 books that I got from the convention and the 3 books that we got from Ollie's. I'm going to go ahead and tell you I spent about $95. So when you combine everything came to $2 or less than $2. I haven't really done the math, but it's maybe under $1. So this was a great haul for what I paid for things, and actually got a few keys and a few memories to talk about here and stuff, right? So let's bring up the Comic Can. which is annoying me right now because I can hear myself through the speaker. So what we got here is the eBay stuff right away, right? Okay, let's adjust Comic Can. This is the PBS of YouTube, guys. Do it on the fly. A little bit of a delay. That's going to be good enough. I don't know what to do here. So off of eBay. Back in, I think, 2002. Yes, 2002. That was the first year that I had started ordering my comic books through an online store called Gmart. And right off the bat, I collected the first 44 issues of Fables as they came out like that. And I got this fantastic #1, which is actually a variant cover. This is the only one I ever see, which is funny. And then basically Fables are where every fairy tale you ever heard that's in public domain, Snow White, Big Bad Wolf, if you will, Prince Charming, all the princesses, Rose Red, Pinocchio, Geppetto, all that stuff coming on. They were going to have an adversary that was going through the Fable lands, their kingdoms, if you will. And they had to come here and live secretly in the real world. And the big mystery for over 3.5 years was who was the adversary. And I picked up one or little two minor, very tiny clues that I had figured out that it was either going to be Captain Hook or the Peter Pan. I don't know. Well, they had to change their plans because Bill Willingham did not know that Peter Pan was not in public domain until a DC editor or somebody told him, no, they're not. Peter Pan apparently has gotten out of the protection, if you will, over copyrights and stuff, because the man who wrote Peter Pan has all the proceeds for Peter Pan, that the plays, the books, any kind of publication, I guess, that falls under their umbrella. I don't know how the Disney movie worked or anything. Helps fund an orphanage. So they were able to use him. And what did he do? He ended up making the adversary, spoiler alert, Geppetto. And I about flipped out because where I read the book that did not fit. So I raged, quit the book, and I sold it on eBay. And now I have been slowly getting it back. And I've been keeping an eye for about a year on Fables #1, which goes for outrageous prices on eBay, even though it's well worth having in your collection. And I ended up doing a little bidding on this and got this for $17. So I am back, a mint condition book. I'm probably not going to get any more of the single issues. This is the way to do it. If you watched this channel, you saw that I got something like, I don't know, man, something like 11 of the trades for less than a little bit around $2 a piece, and I've got a few other things. So got my Fables #1. Now the seller also had a little something going on, so I decided to get it. And I must have sold this in my collection because I bought this off the rack when it came out, actually in a grocery store in a place called Coburn, Virginia, when I was 20. Apparently, I think I sold a bunch of books probably around 2016, 2015, and this must have been in it. So I just replaced my 2099 because the seller had it there. Got this for a great price. It's mint. Don't know where mine went, but I'm just going to assume I probably put it in that long box that I sold at a flea market / yard sale back in the day, trying to make some room. So we got her 2099. And I got to say, getting this and then flipping through it and having that wave of nostalgia come back with Peter David writing it and fantastic Rick Leonardo artwork. And then sneakily, they snuck it in there. You had to be in the know. But they brought in Justice, John Tenson from the New Universe, as sort of a new character. It wasn't actually. It was a little nod and a wink to Justice because Peter David had written him in the New Universe when he picked up on the book around issue 14 or 15, and wrote him all the way to the end around issue 31 or 32. So I love stuff like that. I love stuff when you're reading and you're in the know about what Peter David is doing on the book. So I'm really hoping I don't get the bug and I have one more series I want to try to complete and collect. So, and who knows, maybe with all the multiversity stuff going on and all the announcements with what they're supposed to be doing with Spider-Man and things that have fallen through the cracks and been forgotten, we don't know if they're coming. Who knows? I have his first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man with the black border in the hologram cover. A preview issue or something. I don't know, there's a preview, but I have him proper again. And for some reason, if anybody knows anything about this book, these two books took almost a complete month to get to me, which is outrageous on eBay standards, the way I remember it. So I'm assuming this guy threw in a extra book for my troubles, if you will. And he put in this amazing Spider-Man 658. I'm not a fan of the slot stuff by any means, but it's still Spider-Man, and I recognize the cover, the costume that Spider-Man's on. That was, there for a wink and a nod, and then gone. So I don't know. I haven't looked this up, man. But it's the 50th anniversary of the Fantastic Four, so I can just imagine this is probably about a 9 or 10-year-old book. But I don't know. Anyway, but there you go. Plus, Spidey meets Ghost Rider by Williams and Garvey. There you go. So now on to the Salem Vintage Lot Haul after I see who is in here. Of course, John C. has popped up. You need to be like him. Like, thumb up, subscribe, hit that bell so you know when I'm doing this, because I'm a little random sometimes. And of course, me, I was eating my biscuit. John C. said he's excited to pick up The Punisher #1 when he was a kid. I put a little detail in there to let you know a few of the books I'll be talking about. John miniseries was fantastic. We have Gratu out there. What's up, brother? And then, as always, John Jones. And yes, I think the 2099 was a little hit or miss with a lot of stuff, but when it was good, it was definitely good. So underrated is the way to go. So we're going to start with, like I said, this is a mix of dollar books, 50-cent books, and then a little haggling on a few things. Great show, a lot of great vendors. I got a little delay with the comic cam here, right? So what we have here is Cable. And we're going to do this where we can at least see the book. Comic cam is just not nice this morning. So I got a few issues of Cable. The only Cable issues I'm trying to complete is probably around issue 45 into the 60s, if not the early 70s. I only have a handful more to get because basically James Robinson of Starman fame began writing a story. And then Ladron came in, an artist I absolutely love. You look at it and there is Jack Kirby. There is Mobius. There is a Dynamics. There is action. There is retro feel. There's just so much good stuff in there. There's manga in there, anime in there. Things. All this guy just is just fantastic, of course. So I'm getting all the issues and, like I said, Ladron. So basically, it really is for the art. So with Ladron here, with his Kirby-esque Mobius style, at the same time doing his own thing, we got a flashback when they'd had all the -1s for the Marvel that month, right? Then I got issue 61, Captive of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I can see a little Steranko in this, even though it's not flat out pop art there. But there's the Kirby, the Steranko, the Mobius, and nothing is static. He draws everybody in action, even when the guy is somehow standing here. It feels like there's a motion there with a wisp of his hair. And that's the trick. That's the trick to catching your eye, having the motion and stuff, right? So basically, as much as I read my comics, when it comes to stuff like this, I'm just sort of captivated. Joe Casey came on there. He's a decent writer. And we're sitting here, and I just sort of look over this artwork, man, just taking it all in. Just fantastic stuff. Blows my mind how long Ladron has been around, because I discovered him during the amalgam crossover between DC and Marvel. And then, I just try to pick up anything and everything that I come across of his. So, Ladron. I think Ladron and Jacques are probably two of the most innovative artists to come out in quite a while. All right. So then we're going to go back to our 80s mutants, guys. Our 80s mutants, right? I compare myself to that crazy old man who was into heavy music, and he was very serious about his music, and he only listened to certain things, and he would laugh at those radio hits. He would laugh at those guys that were soft in his eyes and everything, right? And then all of a sudden, after listening to his punk and his heavy metal and his alternative and post-punk and all this stuff of the 80s, he gets to be around my age, and he goes to the music store and he starts buying up those records that he actually realizes he loved, and he can listen to them now. You're Chicago. You're as much as I hate to say it, You Can Winch and Smack Me, The Police. Things like that. Great music that you just didn't appreciate back then, right? And that's what we have here. I collected these things, but it was sporadically. It depended on the crossover and what was going on. But I was with New Mutants from the beginning with the graphic novel when it came out as a kid. lucked up and ended up buying it at Walden Books or something, right? And then I would sporadically pick up an issue or here, right? And then the Sienkiewicz came in, and of course I picked up a few of those. But then we had the Morlock Massacre, and I was in. And then we had Follow the Mutants, I was in. Inferno, I was in, and that was it. Then I got like a few issues around the Brett breeding with Bird Brain and Spider and who was Gossamer? A few weird things, man, but didn't really get stuck here, right? So now we're backing up, and somehow I've gotten quite the collection of New Mutants around the Sienkiewicz era. And of course, going all back to number one, my number one is signed by Bob McLeod. McLeod, who was the inker and sort of the artist. He drew the graphic novel, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I haven't had it in years. So anyway, I got this, right? And with the speculation that's going on, for some reason, X-Men 200 has been going up because that's when Magneto apparently became like a headmaster and stuff, which was funny because this is a key book where it says he actually became headmaster, and I guess he started running the New Mutants a little bit and stuff, right? But this artwork, I appreciate it so much more now than before. So here's number 35. And then we have Xavier's son, who has come back. New Mutants number 44 with Wolfsbane. Now, my favorite, and still to this day, if I had to pick a favorite New Mutant, is Sunspot. Sunspot was the stuff, right? During the Asgardian Wars, the New Mutant Special Edition by Art Adams, and then in various inkers like Walt Simonson, Steve Loyola, a few other people and stuff. Then it went into New Mutants Annual. What was it, number 9, where Loki was handing, he got a hold of Storm and was promising her powers back, at least with the Storm, with the new fancy hammer. And the New Mutants were kidnapped, and they had the Enchantress, and you had the X-Men go to save Storm and all this stuff like that. Sunspot met the Warriors 3, and it made me a fan of Sunspot. To go from, it's a nice little thing there, right? Anyway, but Legion's back, so we'll see what happens in issue 44. I kind of think that the mid-30s, all the way up to probably issue 50 to 52, the New Mutants might be one of those runs that's very underrated. We'll find out. Of course, we have the Warlock thing going on with the number 47, just completing a run here. We have some new Sentinels, at least in the 80s, even though they look like the old Sentinels. But this was a new Sentinel that came in. I believe this is a fantastic Barry Winslow Smith. You can tell this is taking place after Asgardian Wars because Mirage has become a Valkyrie. There is a bond between her Pegasus and a Valkyrie that cannot be broken, so she gets to keep it. Loved it. Bringing in that fantasy. And of course, here's magic. And this is what I'm talking about, man. I knew people that absolutely love the concept of magic. The magic armor, the sword appearing with the armor, and the threat of always becoming like the demon, having it take her over and things like that. Again, I appreciate this stuff so much more now. So even if these books fall flat, the artwork, the characterization, there's things there that I'm going to really enjoy within. A lot of good stuff in there. I'm trying to think. There was a character that popped up. One of the ongoing gags, sort of with Dave Sim of Cerebus and Chris Claremont, and it really showed in New Mutants and Inferno, was that Dave Sim had a character called the Roach, and he would satire and parody whoever the what's the word here? The popular superhero was at the time. And I think Marvel actually, he had Punisher Roach, Wolver Roach, which he put front and center on 2 covers of the books and just slightly changed the costume. But it was Wolverine, Punisher, things like that. They really went after him on Wolverine. And then they turned around. They ended up making a demon connected to magic named Sim. S''YM, Dave Sim. And he wore a little black vest like Cerebus did, if you will, right? And sort of talked like him a little bit and stuff, right? But somewhere along the line, it seems like there was another character that popped up that might have had a tie with that and stuff, right? Just a little trivia there for you. You can dig around and stuff, right? And then Excalibur. I loved Excalibur when it came out. It was lighthearted towards the end of the 80s. Had a few little characters in there. I was never a fan of Rachel as the Phoenix. I'm not going to go into that. But she wore a mullet, like forever. I'd been a hound in the future, ties to days of future past and whatever, secretly Cable's sister, sort of, kind of. When you get into the clones and Madeline Pryor and all that stuff. But anyway, I always skipped to the issues that Alan Davis did not write. My brother was also collecting this, so I would read his issues. So I'm just filling in gaps. I have all the Alan Davis issues. Okay, I have anything that's got a crossover. I probably have, I don't know, 4 or 5 issues, and then I'm going to cut it off there. Probably the first 25 to 26 issues is what I want to complete. These books were so fun. It takes place in England, and then they would always have a little pinup on the back, high quality paper from when it came out, with the at the time. Just really, it's a very underrated book. It's got a lot of humor into it. Years later, I finally got a hold of the trade that Marvel put out, where they pulled out the Alan Moore Captain Britain stories. My gosh, it blows my mind. I'm glad I read this stuff before. I'm glad I'm a little bit knowledgeable on it, because now when I read that Captain Britain Alan Moore stuff, you can really see how big of an influence Alan Moore was on either Chris Claremont or the Marvel mutant books in general. Okay, because there was a lot of characters that returned from the Captain Britain book that was published in the early 80s over in England, Marvel UK, whatever they called themselves, by Alan Davis and Alan Moore. So having Alan Davis back on a Captain Britain book, especially Excalibur, it's a little bit throwback to a tie to Alan Moore. Great stuff. And of course, they're playing with the multiversity, the multiverse and stuff. There's all sorts of versions of Excalibur and Marvel characters, but centered around Captain Britain. And I'm not going to get into it, but Saturnine and this secret highfalutin organization and stuff, right? But yeah, it always killed me that DC felt like their Infinite Earths were confusing. Yet when you think about it, Excalibur has the same thing. And after what I've seen with some of the San Diego Comic-Con announcements, like having the character of the actor come out in costume as the High Evolutionary, for you guys in the know, to make this next statement make sense, George Perez based the look of the Monitor, the main character in Crisis, if you will, on the High Evolutionary from Marvel. Okay. Well, when that actor at San Diego Comic-Con came out, that was supposed to be the High Evolutionary, he looked like the Monitor. And with all this talk about multiversity and chaos and all this stuff, I'm beginning to wonder if the Marvel Universe movies are actually moving forward to, you're going to hear me say this again. I'm going to talk about it later if I ever sit down and make a proper video. But it's beginning to look like that they're doing their version of Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'm just saying, okay? I'm not saying universes are going to be destroyed or anything, but I'm just saying you got your High Evolutionary looking like DC's Monitor. Full circle. Full circle. Well, anyway. And as you can see, to go from Alan Davis to a completely different artist with a completely different style is a bit jarring. And in those days where the books had gone from 75 cents to $1 to $1.25 to $1.50, soon $1.75, and then $1.95, I picked and choose what I wanted, and I was not going to settle for what I considered mediocrity. But like I said, I appreciate it more now. This probably has just a different English feel to it. I don't know. I can't remember who the artist is, but I know he had popped up on Justice League a little bit over at DC with Giffen DeMontes and stuff. But anyway, yeah, there you go. A little homage back to number 1. There's number 21. And then number 22. And then we were back. The Cross Time Caper was just this fantastic storyline that went on for over a year. That was just fantastic and stuff, right? But anyway, you see Rachel disguised as Shadowcat as they're hunting for her and everything, right? So it was so good to have this. And it was twice monthly. No wonder it sped up there a little bit. That probably had something to do. I was probably getting the McFarlane Spider-Man twice a month more than I was this. And I know that they had a little summer there where they had several of their books go bi-monthly. So you're buying 2 issues a month, and it was genius. Strangely enough, I will admit that the quality didn't hold up with most of those books. All right, where are we at here? Okay, we got a little DC here. We'll go a little at a time, guys. A little at a time. Okay. So anyway, this series I've seen Jay and DeMontes, whatever you want to say. This was right hot and heavy during he and Giffen on the League. But he wrote, I don't know, maybe the first 2 years of Dr. Fate. There was a mini series that Giffen did with DeMontes, and then they came in and I used to brag on this Sean McManus, this artist here. I saw some of the stuff on Swamp Thing here and there. And I got to say, on a monthly book, I was a little disappointed, but I probably it was my expectations. Now, this book, Jay DeMontes has talked about what he was proud that he accomplished in it and stuff, right? And with today's environment, with what they've been doing with books, the last couple of years, talking about anything but adventure, DeMontes has a few of the seeds placed with what they were doing in a good way. There's no preaching, okay? There's no finger pointing, and there's actually action. He built up to a conflict with Darkseid and things, right? But he did do the thing where he played with gender. He did this, he did that. But the great thing about it is that he did everything in story. Okay, it wasn't shoehorned in. And I really hate attaching to what's going on with comics now. But unless you read it, you will see that it is still completely different than the comics going on now. So I've decided to fill in a few gaps. A lot of my books that I got of Dr. Fate are low key. I got something like 13 issues of it. 11 issues of it on eBay for $250 just to check it out, figuring if I like it, I'll upgrade it. So I don't know. I'm kind of happy with what I have, but it's a decent story to read. It's a satisfying comic. Okay. Not great literature there, right? I love how everybody jumped out as soon as I started talking about comics the last 5 years. Maybe they'll be back. Who knows? But great covers on these and a very underrated series. And we'll just fly through these because they actually have some good stuff. Justice League Quarterly, this Giffen DeMantes era of Justice League was hugely successful in the time of the grim and gritty, if you will, with the humor and things they were doing. They had all kinds of spin-offs, annuals, and one of the books they came out with was these square-bound, oversized comics called Justice League Quarterly that, of course, came out quarterly. Mark Waid, it's got a lot of early Mark Waid stories in these, playing with the Global Guardians and some of the Charlton characters and just whatever was going on. That's why I've decided to back up. I've got the first 3 or 4, maybe one. One of them might be a minor key. I'm not. It's got a Mike Mignola cover, Captain Atom, Booster Gold, Peter Thunder, and I'm missing one. But anyway, they brought the Charlton characters together and with a Mike Mignola cover and did a little story with all the Charlton characters. The significance is that those were the archetype for the Watchmen. But anyway, so there's maybe 1 or 2 issues that are minor keys. But anyway, I'm just going to finish up these Justice League Quarterly because they're cheap and there's not that many, and I'm a little bit of a completist, right? All right. Good morning, guys. Let's see if there's any more comments before I move on because we are moving right along. Nice. Okay. This next stack, let me get these free comic book day Teenage Mutant Turtles out of the way. So, here lately, oh, wait a minute. These are out of order. Okay, well, we're going to have a call back to Matt Wagner in a minute, okay? But anyway, I found number 10 of the Kamiko series of Mage, and I have found myself a huge Mage fan. When I was a kid, I would see somehow, I don't know if it was on the back of some of my role-playing stuff. I don't know if it was in like some comic book news magazines or something I might have found or stuff. But anyway, I always saw these advertisements for Mage. So when I see Mage, it really puts me in like 1986 or, you know what I mean? Like it really puts me in the 80s and stuff just because of the age I was and being wondering about it. I also now have a Mage t-shirt with the big lightning bolt and stuff, but I found number 10 and I have a lot of these in other collected editions. So here's the original Kamiko. But Matt Wagner, feel a little bit of a kindred spirit. I got these for 50 cents, no doubt about it. But I remember this being a key book for some reason there for a while. I have it. I've had it. I bought it off the rack. But for some reason, I saw this on like 50 cents, grab it just in case. But I swear it seems like at one point some people thought this might have been the first comic book appearance of Sonic or something, but I'm probably wrong. And I could totally be misremembering the book. Real quick, Legion of Superheroes. I now have completed the entire Baxter series of this book. Okay, so that's the significance of this. Number 55. It amazes me how a book that was published regularly didn't have really too much of a print run uh, going up and down, if you will, and how no matter what title you're trying to complete or finish, it seems like those last 2-3 books feel impossible, no matter what they are. It blows my mind. This is just completing my Legion of Superheroes annuals, and nothing really to talk about there. 50 cents, 50 cents. Teen Titans annual #1. I needed this for the Baxter series. And this was, and the significance of this is that there's a team on top of this, a very popular book at the time. This is the book that went neck and neck with X-Men, okay? But we have an annual coming out, and this was only at direct market. They would reprint it with a different cover for the newsstand, right? But there's a team here you see called Vanguard. And it seems like it used to be with comics that you would get all new characters, right? They're like, you'd be overflowing. And then you would sort of be like, come on, man, bring back the real villains. We want to see more of the other villains and stuff. So to a certain extent, a lot of these feel like filler at the time. And then you would never see some of these characters ever again. Compare that to now. Talk about not knowing what you had. Now you're like begging for new characters instead of messing with the ones that are already established. Move forward. Fill that world up. It's an interesting place. The world outside my window has 7 billion people in it. Okay, I'm saying there's people I've never met before. It's quite possible. And what we have here is the Cosmic Odyssey. Okay, I already got a full set of this. I've got extra copies here and there. And when this came out, it felt like a money grab. I'll go ahead and tell you. I'm also surprised that it's a sort of a prestige format book, is what it was called at the time. And this was actually on a newsstand in my town. One place was selling it. It was a malt shop. Okay, an old timey malt shop that hung in there. But when I say a #1, I've given a whole set to one of my friends before to get them to read it and stuff. But when it came out, it felt like a cash grab, and it was darker and had a few more mature themes because I'm trying to think if Legends had happened, but Crisis had happened, a little bit of Legends, and you're like a crossover, and it was 4 issues, and they're like, at that time when crossovers were still new and mega events and comics were still new, you're just sort of like, what? And then at this time, Mike Mignola, coming from Marvel to DC and stuff, his artwork was a bit jarring after you've seen the glory of George Perez on these books and Jose Garcia Lopez and a few other people. So this book won me over through merit. Okay. It was through merit. I absolutely love Cosmic Odyssey. I love the curviness of it. I love the Batman bug interactions. I love the Batman and Orion. I thought it was a little bit heavy-handed on how much Orion and Batman didn't like with each other. That's the only part that didn't really seem to flow. There's a lot of great imagery and stuff. And, of course, we were bringing John Stewart to the forefront here in the 80s, well before he became the superstar thanks to the Bruce Timm Universe Justice League cartoons of the early 2000s. John Stewart has always had his fans, guys. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. Green Lantern in general, Green Lantern characters in general always had their fans. So I just have another extra #1. Like I said, I've had a set that I bought. I've had extra sets over the years. I probably have 1 or 2 extra issues here and there. And I've given this to my friends before. Good and cheap. It's good and cheap. Just flat forward. Made John Stewart a bit of a character. Now, in the world, I want to introduce you to a new comic book term, guys. So for you people who are here and have checked out this channel, congratulations, man. We're going to get a little bit of an education, right? So what I have before you is a book from 1996, Spider-Man Team Up, Gambit and Howard the Duck. And this secretly ties into a one-shot book that had come out that had Savage Dragon and Destroyer Duck. What connects these books? Steve Gerber. Now, is this book worth money? No. Is it ever going to be like a real hot book? No, but for comic collectors, it's a good thing. So the term for one of those books that you need that isn't a key book, there's no excuse for you not being able to find it, and you do need it to complete a story because it has some significant comic book history, is called a pain in the ass. Okay, so whenever you find these books that you've been looking on for years and there's no excuse for not being able to find one, it's called a pain in the ass. So this is my first pain in the ass book. So yeah, there you go. Comic book term, new comic book history, right there. Trademark, copyright, pain in the ass books. This isn't even Peter Parker. I'm pretty sure this has been Riley, judging by the costume and the year this came out. So the significance of this book is the only thing I could think of is that it wasn't Steve Gerber on Howard the Duck. It was because it had Gambit in it. This book isn't worth anything. Now, I'm talking regionally. I have looked for this book North Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, West Virginia, Kentucky, Virginia, over the years, if you will, right? Just kind of keeping an eye out for it. Maybe I went on eBay a few times and, people they had those copies where they wiped their butt with it and it was like, hey, this is money. They wanted too much for it and stuff. And I finally found it for $1. But the significance of this book, whatever, maybe it's a regional thing why I couldn't find it. So I couldn't believe I found this. And so when I found this, the significance is that this secretly crosses over with, and I don't believe Steve Gerber got anything over on anybody after finally getting to flip through this book. But if you take the Destroyer book, Destroyer Savage Dragon book, and then you read it with this book, at the end of it, everybody storms a factory where they're making like clones of Howard the Duck. And the Destroyer Duck Savage Dragon book, Spider-Man, Howard the Duck, and Gambit are in silhouette, but you know that's them because the Savage Dragon and the Destroyer Duck are there also, but they're not so much hidden in this book. And what Steve Gerber did is that he stole Howard the Duck back from Marvel and replaced him with a clone of Howard the Duck. Then took his Howard the Duck into the Imageverse or wherever it is, dyed his feathers black, and now he has a new name and he's continuing his adventures somewhere out there outside of the Marvel Comics. So we'll just look about this. Oh, also, this also has one of my favorite characters ever, Elf with a Gun. If you know anything about Steve Gerber and his books in the 70s and stuff, Elf with a gun. That's all you need to know. He's just an elf with a gun who walks around being tough, gets and points a gun in people's faces to get his way, and he will shoot them up. But elf with a gun. It's even fun to say, elf with a gun. So anyway, as I was talking, that you see what they did. So here in a Marvel book, there's Savage Dragon and Destroyer Duck in a Marvel book. Considering, okay, that's pretty wild, right? And they're in silhouette. But as the book goes on, and they were super silhouetted in the Destroyer Duck. Same scene is in Destroyer Duck Savage Dragon. But then they get bold. You can start seeing that this is the Savage Dragon. They start using color. There's no doubt who it is. So after and then here's where Destroyer Duck and Howard the Duck actually meet. And then the great kidnapping occurs. So that's just it. That book is just significant for your, little piece of comic book trivia where Steve Gerber finally got Howard the Duck out of there. And after reading this book, I don't think Steve Gerber pulled the wool out of over anybody's eyes, which is why it's infamous. What we got here? Jared Osborne has popped up, man. I plugged your channel on the show again. We call that a PETA book for short, a PETA book. All right. We have adjusted it. So, if you have virgin ears around you, we'll know what you're talking about. All right. Moving on. So, hello, and welcome to the kid who apparently, from my experience and talking to people as I'm going to tell some of these stories, but welcome to the guy who apparently never really read Micronauts as a kid, nor did I get the figures. Right when I was a kid, the Star Wars figures were hitting. Okay, a little bit later, it felt like years later, little kid time. But anyway, late 70s, Star Wars figures were everywhere. I saw Migos and $6 Million Man and things like that. And then, a little bit later, we had the 6-inch G.I. Joe, and then we had the He-Man toys and things like that, right? But apparently Micronauts was the series, the Japanese figures from Japan, the Japanese. A comic book company decided to not go with the Star Wars figures. They went with this, and we see what's going on. And as it got licensed to Marvel around that time. So I had one friend who was in 5th grade when I was in kindergarten, maybe 1st grade, who had the Micronaut toys. And I would see the same 3 Micronaut toys advertised in comic books. One had a brain and big wings and stuff. And then Time Traveler was the big one and everything. And I didn't really pick up the Micronauts book. The only Micronauts book that I had in the house had the cover with the Man-Thing on it. So I'm sure the stepdad got that because it was Man-Thing. I think it's number, 7, 9, somewhere around in there. And then there was an X-Men miniseries, Micronauts and the X-Men. So there was 2 issues, one issue of that miniseries, right? Now, I've heard Micronauts build up over the years. People still fondly remember it. I have number 1 that Mike Golden signed, yet I kind of flipped through it. I picked up a few beat up copies just to kind of check it out and never really got in there. But a lot of what I heard was Mike Golden. So now these are upgrades. A couple months ago, if you watch the channel, I stopped in an antique store in Withville, Virginia, and found probably like 95% of the entire series. So I'm upgrading those. I think the first 9 or 10 issues I have need to be upgraded. 2 weeks ago, I found number 8, the big key issue, for a great price in an antique shop when I was looking at records. I need to show those records at some time. Anyway, so I'm at the comic book shop and I hear the story again. I pull these out. I get a great deal on these. Ignore the cover price. You know, he just looked at the stack, gave me a price. I got him $1 or $2 less after what he offered, just because these are upgrades. And he was like, "This is the only comic I read as a kid." It just blows my mind how many random people tell me they read the Micronauts as a kid. Yet in my years of collecting, it's another blind spot. The actual people I interacted with, if I had to come up with a number, it was obscure, 1 in 10. Seriously. And nobody who actually read it from beginning to end. They always talked about Mike Golden. So anyway, I am very close. I think I need like maybe 4 issues. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I think I need 4 issues to have a complete set of Micronauts now. So here's number 2 with a lawnmower coming at him. And that's this poor kid. This is not a motorized lawnmower for you guys. This is the push one. The push one where you had to keep the momentum going and you would have to jerk back and forth to keep those blades cutting, get enough force behind them. They're one of the reasons why after 40 years I do not mow anymore. Okay, number 3, beautiful copy. Number 4, that is not Darth Vader. That's the Baron. Number 5, beautiful cover, man. If you really look, I really enjoy this cover, man. This dog and this kid, so well drawn, man. I mean, I get it. Number 36 was one that I needed, and the last issue. Now, the significance of the last issue, that I happily found out by accident that I absolutely love this little bit of trivia is I don't know if you like the Kelly Jones, okay? The Kelly Jones artist, okay? I think Kelly Jones is absolutely fantastic. And I've met him at con or two. I'm trying to remember if I have anything signed by him. I hope I do. I don't know if I do or don't. I think that was before I really let people sign my comics. I still consider some signatures to be graffiti, unless it's like a Steranko or something where they have really put work into their signature to where it looks like a piece of art on its own. But this is from I want to say 84. And I love these 80s covers, like with the Crystal Warrior and things like that, where they would come in and it sort of has an airbrush feel with these pastel colors. I love these 80s covers. I have a Doctor Strange I bought for that. But anyway, this is Kelly Jones' first pencil work in comics. So there you go. Right. And I'm pretty sure they brought back the Micronauts not too long after this in volume. They definitely brought it back in volume 2, but I just don't know how long after. And I'd really like to check those out because I love Pat Broderick artwork, the early stuff. You know, met him a few times. So yeah, some Micronauts, guys. I'm getting piles of comics around me. We got here. Bat Avenger is here. Love those golden issues. That's what I'm hearing. Mike Golden has his fans, no doubt about it. I have a story about Mike Golden that I told 2 or 3 times on here, but I'll spare you. But yeah, met him at cons a few times. Here we go, Jared Osborne. I read Micronauts from beginning to end, all 3 volumes. A few years ago, I sold them because I hadn't looked at them in 30 years. They're in France now. See, there you go, man. You are spreading our culture, man. You are enlightening minds, Jared. You did a good thing. I just hope you don't have any regrets, at least on volume 1, man. But that's fantastic. But it's cracking me up there in France. That's fantastic. William Byrd, I've never considered myself a Bill Mantlo fan, but it's amazing how many issues I have he wrote in the 80s. Bill Mantlo is everywhere. Definitely everywhere, man. I mean, I'm with you. He's one of those guys that if you start digging through your comics, you may be surprised on what you find. Okay, guys, get a few more Marvel out of the way. We're just moving along. So this was bought with the Micronauts. So this was a less than $1. I really think I gave the guy $12 for all these books and stuff, right? If I remember right. And then we're going to go into the first batch of dollar books that I found when I got to the Salem show. I got it to the Salem, to this vintage comic book show. Like I said, I had four of my friends driving in from a place I used to live, and we all met there. But I get to cons early. Want to make a day of it if I want to spend the money and spend my time. I try to get, as long as I can stay interested, I'll get every minute out of it, be it socializing, digging through books, talking, whatever. But I was the first one in line and the first one to pay somehow. I got there exactly a half hour before, and they rid me on it because I have a thing that if I'm riding with people and they're going to make us late, I start thinking things. And I was told by my buddy that 90% of the time I will say, I can feel people touching our books like they're already ours. Like there's people digging through these boxes at these cons messing with my comics, our comics, things like that. Cracked me up when I thought about it. So anyway, this is a Keith Giffen, P. Craig Russell, 1975, Amazing Adventures, War of the Worlds. I only pick these up when they are in good condition because I want to open and read these and things. P. Craig Russell, I don't think I need to say anything, but I love how also Giffen is on this in 1975. I thought he came in a year or two into comics a year or two later, if you will. So that's what I love, always finding out new stuff and everything. And of course, this is based on the War of the Worlds, the classic novel. But they brought in Killraven, your ginger, if you will, to come in to fight aliens and things like that. I think I have enough of a collection where I can sit down and read a coherent story. So, Amazing Adventures, War of the Worlds. I'm always down for that Bronze Age sci-fi stuff. I love my 80s books that I grew up with, that I bought on my own and things like that. But I will go Bronze Age all day long if you actually set me up for a category. All right. Just another issue of Bone. It cracks me up how I met Jeff Smith plenty of times at cons. I got tons of Bone signed. And it cracks me up how in the most random places you can actually pick up a book. This is one of those books that in the grim gritty world we grew up in the 80s and stuff, where you say Watchmen and you say Frank Miller's Daredevil and Dark Knight Returns and Martial Law and all these books I can talk about and stuff. Yeah, a lot of that stuff's required reading, is what they say. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you Bone is also, because it goes way back in comics and comic strips before all that stuff, being influenced by Karl Barks and Pogo and Eisner. And you can see all sorts of stuff, man. Those great cartoon books and Disney books and 4-color fantasies and stuff, with a little bit of Lord of the Rings thrown in there, it feels like. Just a great book with a lot of humor and stuff like that. I always pick these up when I get a chance. Okay, now here's the first set of dollar books I found, and I laughed, right? I laughed because I've gone to other cons and I've talked to other people and they want to get their Immortal Hulks and they want $10 to $40 for every issue. That this ran for 50 issues. This is the book that people were recommending, and forever I was just saying this was a Tuesday in like 1988 with the quality. It's a good book, but I felt like all the books were good. Then I finally started reading from the beginning. I got about 25 to 27 issues of Immortal Hulk that I bought all for $1 in comic book in flea markets and stuff, right? And then there's that issue, I don't know, number 8 or something, where the Hulk is actually in sections. His head's off, his hands are cut off, and each section of his body is in a jar and he's still alive. And I'm like, this is good shit. That's the one that won me over. I'm like, that's good. Pulling in from The Thing, it felt like some of that early 80s horror sci-fi and stuff, right? So anyway, I laugh when I find stuff like this in the dollar bins with Immortal Hulk, considering how nuts people are and how much people are asking for issues of it. But this is number 0. It reprints 2 issues, previous issues of the Incredible Hulk series. There's a new story in it here, and it's setting up about the Hulk's dad, how Bill Mantlo, I think, made it to where his dad smacked him and his mom around. Peter David had a story, and then I think they added to it, so give you a little groundwork and stuff. And Zimnu the Titan, okay, as a kid, this was, and it still is, my favorite comic book monster, if you will, sci-fi way, right? He was originally known as the Hulk, but he's Zimnu the Titan, okay? And I love that he brought him in. So I already have this, but like I said, I'll grab these all day long. You have a Zimnu appearance, I'm usually there, But anyway, here's 2 issue copies of 33, which is actually, I guess, the 700. I never thought about it, but are they trying to say this is the 750th issue of Hulk? I never really thought about it. LGY hashtag 750. Anyway, and then issue 37, which I needed. So, like I said, I have over half of this series, all for $1 a piece, and actually have some of the single issue digits and stuff, right? So that's how I started out the con. First thing, I was actually I made a circle looking for the dollar boxes. For some reason, I was drawn to that one box. What we got here? All right. Well, good morning, Sumerian. No doubt, I hate the generic looks like anything autographs. I really love it when I can remember the signing with a real unique signature. Nice. Grimjack. Was that Michael Doyle? Grimjack 2. I think we're talking about the New Mutants. That might be what I'm thinking of. A little cameo appearance or some kind of Grimjack in there. Yes, thank you, Mike. This is why I love doing YouTube, man. First place I saw Giffen was on the Defenders around issue 50. See, and that might be why I thought he started years later. I remember him doing a Kirby-esque Moon Knight splash page for one of the Defenders when I was a kid, and I probably read it in the late 70s. I have no idea when it came out, but it was in the issues. I think it was in the high 40s of the Defenders. Oh, good God! I've got the where is it? I got the Moon Knight. I've got a Moon Knight omnibus here with it in there. Yeah. Oh, anyway, first place I saw Giffen was on Defenders around issue 50. He was doing a Kirby Steranko riff on a Defender story with Scorpio as the villain. Exactly, yeah. And I bet I read those in the late 70s, in the stacks of my stepdad's books, right? Okay, guys, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do this since we got some people here, man. I want to show you the 2 books. Now, what I'm showing here, I'll show some other stuff here. I wonder where it's at. Make sure it's in here. Yeah, there they are. Okay, guys, we're going early with what I consider the big books here, right? Now, the first thing is, this is going to crack me up in my collection. Now, there's a dude out of North Carolina that's there with his wife. I have no idea if we clicked or not. I think there's a cultural, regional way of interacting with people, so I don't know. Okay, I don't know, man. But anyway, this is what you see. It is the Punisher miniseries number 4. I bought the Mike Zeck, I think it's Steve Grant, this miniseries out of a gas station in my hometown. I would have to make the hike. It was, it had to run in there and try to get it, and people were actually wanting this. So I got issue 1, I got issue 2, I got issue 3, and then all of a sudden there was no 4. And then the thing went up to like 5 or something. I think they kept adding an issue, but I never found number 4. So I've had those same issues except for number 3 and 5, I think, which I bought one in the 90s and probably one in the last 15 years, 10 years and stuff. So anyway, the grades are very mixed, right? Like I had it, I read it, I played around with it, didn't get comic book bags for 3 years after I bought it, things like that. And it's going to crack me up that I now have a direct market edition that's in mint condition. Now, price-wise, this guy had some great comic books, but his boxes were a little bit confusing, and apparently they were able to keep track with what kind of label they put on it or something. I don't know how they did it. Was it bagged? Was it not bagged? I also got the 50-cent books off this guy, right? So with the 50-cent books, this book saying it's $20, which may have been 40% off after he said it probably wasn't. And then I got these fantastic Invaders books, 2 books, Invaders books, that he had $18 on this one. He had $3 on this one. Then there's 50-cent books. I tried to haggle with him a little bit, and he came up with $32. And I'm like, you know what? Just do it, okay? Just do it, Tim. Just get them, right? So I hand him the $32 for the 50-cent books. All 3 of these books. One's supposed to be $18. One's supposed to be $20. There's 3. La la la. I could have swore he said 32. So I go on down as I'm walking away after I hand him my money. And he runs back up there and he gives me $10 or $11 back. So all this came to $21 for these. I don't know what to say. I was very confused, and I usually keep track of these things. So anyway, yes, we had the Punisher number 4. I now have the complete set. I can sleep. My 12-year-old self can finally rest in peace. And then the Invaders book, man. I have such great memories of a kid. I still have the issues with Master Man, Warrior Woman, I'm wondering if they're close by, but this is a book that is now coverless that's in there. The Invaders were in there. I love those World War II heroes. I have loved Union Jack. Apparently, as a kid, all you had to do was wear black with a primary color. And I thought you were cool. Because this is the first appearance of the second Union Jack. This is the one where he's swinging in. The invaders are, Hitler's got the invaders on a wall, on a firing line. Everybody's down. And all of a sudden, Union Jack comes back and Hitler thinks it's a ghost because it's the second one. His first appearance was like in issue 7 or something that I had. And funnily enough, these Union Jack books are going up. So apparently they have, I'm assuming when these things happen, that they're going to be in some NCU material there or something, right? But yeah, now I have a copy of this. And I thought it was going to be a little bit more low grade. And when I put it out, creamy pages, glossy cover on here, a little bit, not even a lot of wear around the cover stuff, well read and fantastic covers, man. This was the stuff I grew up on. This is the stuff that pulled me in. I love the Invaders. Yes, it's Roy Thomas and it's wordy. It's got Frank Robbins art that people apparently hate that I don't understand. But I love the book. I love the book. It's a comic book. You know, I like Roy Thomas, even though there's times where I do say out loud, man, we get it because he over explains things. Make sure you explain everything. You got a Roy Thomas comic, man. You were set for the month till the next one came out on some of those things. Okay. And then you got the Baron Blood, the Miss America issue 40. I think I counted it up last night. I think maybe this is the one where I'm like 6 issues away from having a full set. Okay. Now, Lost Girls here by Alan Moore. You talk about some interesting conversation when I got this. I had to haggle this one. I had to haggle this one down. Okay, let's back up a little bit. Immortal Hulk, I think, number 13, where he tells Bruce, "You locked me away for years, but I always love you because someone has to kid," was so incredible. I think I remember the scene you're talking about. Yeah, we got a little emotion in there after all this horror, little breathing room. Kind of took you by shock in that, if I remember. At least that's how it hit me, if I remember the right scene. Now, Lost Girls, right? You talk about a labor for Alan Moore and Melanie Gibby to get this out. But apparently this actually started in the early 90s. When being in, sections of this story was in magazines, and then 2 issues came out, I think, through Kitchen Press. And the publication history of this took forever to where we finally started getting hardbacks of it. They just completed the work, brought it out, and I have a 3. What is it? I have all the complete story in 3 hardbacks in a slipcase, and it's very hard for me to get through the book. And I'm not a shy guy; I don't wince away, but basically, this is where they're like, there's been a lot of influences in comics, and they've done a lot of adaptations and things, but nobody's tackled pornography in comics and stuff. And that's what they do. They take Wendy from Peter Pan, Alice from Alice in Wonderland, Dorothy, and they set the story the night before World War I happens. I think it's in 1918. Okay. And they're all more or less, we're living and seeing seeing different versions of their story with their sexual awakenings and stuff, right? What he does with Dorothy actually has some artistic merit. And then they go into like taboos and kinks and stuff with what they do with Alice and Wendy from Peter Pan. And it's the Peter Pan stuff that I find a little too disturbing for me. Maybe it's a European thing. I don't know, but it's a hard book to get through. It's Alan Moore. But when I'm running across these books, just because of their tabooness, their low print runs, not being a lot of collections, some people being a little too shy to get these or something like that, I give them. But apparently this is book 2, and there's only 2 books in this format, so I have 1 and 2. But I tell you what, Alan Moore ended up marrying Melanie Gibby, so whatever the subject matter was you read in this, he made an honest woman of her. There you go. Wow. Maybe it's Melanie Gibby. It's Melinda Gibby, excuse me. Miss Moore now, All right. I only know her. I didn't really get introduced to her stuff until Tomorrow's Stories with the Cobweb stories in those. If you want to check it out. Oh, we've had them out now. All right, guys. So I was talking about Matt Wagner beforehand. And over the years on YouTube, I knew about Grendel. Grendel just did not catch my eye. First of all, I thought the mask looked like Spider-Man. I mean, I'm being honest. And then we had the Black Spider-Man outfit and stuff. Little did I know that Grendel came out before all that. You know, like it was a zeitgeist. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way in the world I think the Black Spider-Man costume influenced him, considering we didn't see it until, you know, late '84 and stuff. And then you had the Kamiko primer and all these things. So I would see Grendel here and there. And funnily enough, in Abingdon, Virginia, that I talk about quite a bit, at that time, that was a town that was 45 minutes away from me. They had a cemetery there. And there was sometime in gosh, I can't remember if it was the late 80s. It had to be the late 80s and stuff, right? But I saw these kids in a cemetery over there in Abingdon, Virginia. And I hate saying kids. They were probably a year or two older than me, but they were teens. They were skateboard people. You know, the skateboard people. I ran with the skateboard people for a little bit. That's why I call them skateboard people. But they were in a cemetery and they had a Grendel mask and they were crawling up on the angels, you know, in the cemetery, and they were putting the mask on the angels and taking pictures of it and stuff, right? So maybe that had something to do with me kind of steering away from Grendel. But over the years, I've had Scott X, Tyler, I don't know what his YouTube channel name is and stuff, going way back with these guys, but I've always had people pushing Grendel on me. I now have the Grendel Omnibus that they're putting back out. Grendel, Kamiko, Dark Horse, other places, who knows, and stuff. And I'm trying to see what's catching everybody about with it and stuff, right? So when I find this stuff for $1, I'll pick it up. But we have an issue of Grendel Devil's Legacy. And we have Grendel Tales, 4 Devils, 1 Hell, with a James Robinson story in it. So I'm so down with that. I know Jim Sale was on this. Now that I got that Grendel Omnibus that I showed in my Gmart haul, I maybe end up flipping through it, maybe doing a little review, because there are these Grendel Tales. I think that's what it is. All sorts of people in the early 90s came in and did these fantastic Grendel Tales that actually captured me more than what Matt Wagner did. And I love Matt Wagner. I love when Matt Wagner does anything, touches. I love when that's what I get for talking about Lost Girls and Alan Moore. Everything's sounding innuendo-ish. But anyway, when Matt Wagner draws some Batman and Robin and does anything, his Mage, I think his Mage is fantastic. Certain places there's the truth, not perfect, put it that way. But yeah, Grendel has its fans. Anybody I bring Grendel up to seems to like get all excited about it and stuff. So I had the Omnibuy, the complete Grendel, and I have volume 2 ordered as well. Also, I have number 1 now. Flip through it, a lot of material. What we got here? Am I going to Big Lit Comic-Con? Well, like I said, when I met David, was it David I talked to? I talked to a couple people about Big Lit Comic-Con coming up next weekend. No, I'm not. We're not going to it. There's several people not going to it, and that's not a bad thing. I went to the first 2 or 3 Big Lit Comic-Cons and then 1 or 2 sporadically. I'm glad that they have them several times a year and stuff. Just not enough comics there for the trip. I mean, now where I'm living at, it's probably probably a little bit over a 2.5 hour drive now. Plus traffic and everything you have to do. I mean, you know, it's a chore to get there now. And every time that I went, I got through everything. I got through everybody that had comics within 2 hours. Maybe if it gets more comic book oriented and stuff, I would go. But it's a great show. It's a lot of fun. I met Ron Mars there. I got a lot of great things to say, but there's a bunch of it's not going. And a lot of it's because of the distance versus the reward. It doesn't pay off for us. Check out Wagner's 4-issue Demon miniseries. Awesome Halloween story. I'm waiting to complete it. I've been picking up issues off and on, and now that you said this, you reminded me I need to complete it. Isn't that where he started making him a rhyming demon, I believe? The 80s, yeah. Yep, Death, High Cost of Living. Yes, okay, I'll get back on track. Thank you, Sumerian, for bringing this home. Okay. So, I already have all these, okay? If you've watched this, you know, Neil Gaiman's Sandman, Alan Moore's Watchmen, there's just certain highly popular books, influential books from the 80s and 90s that people will still talk about. And the way that they, you know, Sandman, that TV show start and everything like that, right? But I've always picked up extras of this if they're in good shape and stuff, right? But yes, this is, I think I just need if I had another number 2 of this 3-issue miniseries, I would have maybe 3 complete sets. I'll have to check, all right? But the significance of this one, you have to check it out, is that this is technically a variant cover. I don't know the story behind it, but this is number 3 of the 3-issue miniseries. This is the Chris Bachalo work that a lot of people liked when he first came out. And I've actually had discussions with Chris Bachalo, and I'm trying to think. it might be in a comment on one of my videos or something, or anywhere, a thread on Facebook or something. I don't know. But we were talking about what happened between this and him going to Marvel that influenced some stuff, right? But the Chris Bachalo work in this book to me is the perfect Chris Bachalo. But anyway, 3 issues of the miniseries Death, the High Cost of Living, right? Now, if you go out, you need to kind of check to see if it's a variant. I don't think it's worth anything more. This is just if you're a completist or you're really into this, okay? But there's no price on this, okay? And it's embossed a little bit in silver here, if you will. This is a variant cover. Number 3 has a variant cover, but I have never heard why they did it, you know. But Neil Gaiman, High Cost of Living, great 3-issue story. If you like Neil Gaiman, if you like Death, if you like your Sandman, just the completest and stuff, right? This is the miniseries that they collected, and Tori Amos ended up posing. Tori Amos, who was, she was pretty big there for a little bit in the 90s and stuff. She posed, I think she wrote a song with a little line or two talking about Sandman and Death. I used to know this off the top of my head. But anyway, she ended up posing for the cover of the mini. Hold on. Yeah, that's Tori Amos dressed as Death, where she was such a fan. Hold on. Sorry, Force of Habit. There we go. Anyway, good stuff. Good stuff. Lost 13 pounds. I still got to lose some more. I caught myself. And then here we are. This is where we find out that Scarlet Witch is, what's it called, a Nexus? I can't remember, but she's some kind of celestial being or something, a Nexus character or something, right? But after the WandaVision and stuff, I was cracking me up how some of this Avengers West Coast stuff started going up. I already had the John Byrne issues where he was where he was properly turning her crazy and stuff, right? With a lot was going on. And then I almost want to say it's Grunwald or something. I can't remember who followed up Byrne and Ryan. They had to finish off the story they had started with Immortus messing with Wanda and her going mad and all this stuff. And for some reason, this became one. Now, I've already got this, right? I already bought this, but I didn't know if the one I had was a newsstand. And apparently that's a thing, the UPC newsstand. Okay. And I picked these up. I don't know why. Okay. This was in a dollar box, right? And I ended up getting some things, but I was there and I'm looking at them. And I was like, I got a couple of these covers. I bought 1 or 2 when it came out and all this stuff. This set records and everything, right? But sometimes you just get caught in the moment at a con, digging through those books and seeing a complete set and thinking about it. Then I do this thing in my head. I've left the con. I'm 20 minutes down the road. What am I regretting? Am I regretting I didn't buy this? Am I thinking about it? So I walked away. I was like, no, I don't regret this. I walked 5 steps and was like, just get it. So I ended up getting all the, this is the special edition of X-Men #1 where you fold out. This is my second one of this. You fold out and it's all the covers that connect for the X-Men #1 by Jim Lee from 91. Sadly enough, this is also when Chris Claremont would be leaving by #3. Some say pushed out, if you will, just to have Jim Lee leave for Image later. And it was the beginning of gutting everything within 3 or 4 years that Chris Claremont had built up in 17 years with the helps of editors and John Byrne and other people and stuff, right? But he was the one that was there from beginning to end, if you will. Oh, that was a bad idea. Yeah. Anyway, what do we got here? Okay. And then this is a replacement. Now, I know these Marvel Age books sporadically are becoming key books or whatever. Okay. When I get my CLZ app out and I go to put in some Marvel Age books and stuff, there's a little blue key or a little yellow key. Blue key means minor. Yellow key means major. It's things like the pre-published work of Spider-Man's black costume or things like that, right? I think this had like a minor key on it stuff, man. But this is Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli on Daredevil. Now, if there's ever a team that I wish would reunite, but I also like the fact that they have a very small amount of work and I have it all, the Frank Miller, David Mazzucchelli team is fantastic. From going from Born Again to Batman Year One, David Mazzucchelli's pencils or whatever. I don't know if Miller pulled something out or I don't know, man. I don't know how much of a hand Miller had in having Mazzucchelli draw things, if you will. But fantastic. I love his artwork in Batman Year One. Right down to the first time I saw the advertisement that Muschicelli drew a Batman with having like a Dracula pose with his cape, and seeing those soles of his boots being a little bit thicker, and seeing that his bat belt is a little bit of it's functional, man. It's actually like my military. I can't remember when I was in the military. I cracked up because it was one button pouches on my military stuff. I'm gonna start talking military, man. I'm gonna back it up. But anyway, I've had this. I carried this around forever to kind of go with my Muschicelli stuff, and it's all beat up. So I laughed when I saw this. I was like, "Great, it's a good issue." And here's a little thing, man. And I don't think I'm going to cause a big wave here. I don't think I'm going to have people wanting to run out and get it and stuff, right? But the last 5 or 6 years, I've really wanted to go back, and I still wish I had my Muppet magazines. There was the Muppets, Jim Henson's Muppet Magazine came out in the early 80s, and my first issue had to do with when Return of the Jedi came out. You had Kermit dressed up like Luke Skywalker, Gonzo as Darth Vader, harken back to the TV show I watched in 80, 81 when the Empire was out. Things like that, and I ended up would collect Muppet Magazine every month. So I'm having this thing where they're really expensive if you look on eBay, and I never see them at cons. But anyway, here's a Marvel Age, number 17, the Marvel Muppets Come to Marvel. And believe it or not, they adapted the Muppets Take Manhattan in a Marvel Super Special like they did many adaptations. I hear you out there, Jared. I said adaptations. I caught myself. And that's actually a key book because it's the first Muppets. This is how the speculating's starting to go, man. The first Muppets at Marvel Comics. Yeah, so there you go. But these are so fun. The checklist, the nostalgia, knowing what was coming out, the dates the books were coming out. Fred Hembeck would do 2-page strips in here. Just a lot of fun, a lot of nostalgia. Thought this was going to be a reader copy. This is Gotham by Gaslight, a first printing, probably my second or third one now. But I figured since I found it in a dollar box, and this was part of the haul that I think I got. No, these were dollar bucks. Let me back up. This was dollar books. And then I get home, and I think I'm just going to cuddle up at like 11:30 at night last night, read this, and go to sleep. Just kind of flip through it, and I found out it's like almost mint. This is probably better than the other one or two I have. If I dig through this shelf back here, I'll remember if I have. I think I have 2 of these. So this is my third one. I thought was going to be. So I'm still on the hunt for a reader copy of Gotham by Gaslight. When you can't find a book that's in crappy condition, that never happens. Maybe we should make this a PETA. Yeah, free comic book day. I've already got these. These were just there. I love that Frank Thorne is back in publication in any way, shape, or form with his Red Sonja. For a guy that has the books that came out in the 70s and stuff, the coloring is always jarring for some reason. I like that pulpy feel of it, the way I remember. I actually used this picture as my avatar back like in 2010 or 11 or something on some message boards or something. That Medusa, great stuff. All right, and we're about at the end, guys. I have got comic books everywhere, but this is the Ollie's Haul here. All right. I was talking about the Fables. Okay, the Fables. Now, what are these? 30? These are different sizes. This one's a $30 book that I got for $69. But I absolutely love these deluxe editions. Okay, there's 3 here. I have 2 others I got in Ollie's early in the year, and I think there's 15 of them. So you can get the complete Fables in these deluxe editions for $15. All right. 15 volumes and stuff, and it talks about it. And of course, there's some extra stuff in here. And there's art by Craig Hamilton, P. Craig Russell. I love those guys. Mark Buckingham. Those 3 artists, I will jump on anything they're working on and stuff, right? So there's book 2. And like I said, I had the first 44 issues is when I stuck to the book. And I'm not saying that there's a lot of, maybe it's the 20th anniversary. Maybe it's where the book ended on 150. And now they're bringing back, I think 12 more issues. I have 151 somewhere. But there's for like the last 2 years, there's been a lot of buzz where I've had some of my friends and buddies and stuff asking me, is Fables worth reading? I'm like, yeah. So there's been a lot of buzz in the real world about, and I think they're just trying to find something to read. Anyway, here's book 3. This one gets a little bit thicker with some other great stuff. No, that is not Elf with a Gun. I'm ready for an Elf with a Gun miniseries. I don't know about you guys. Then we jump up to book 10. So this makes 5 total of these deluxe edition books. And this one is packed. And this was $7. This one is packed. This one, they started, expanding on Fables and having a crossover with other books and things. You had the Jack of Fable Tales, all kinds of other things. But this one, this has a crossover in it. Fables 83 to 85, Jack of Fables 33 to 35. The literals were interesting. I'll put it that way. 1 through 3, and Werewolves of the Heartland, and I actually have a few of those and stuff, right? So anyway, yeah, go to Ollie's and get these great deluxe editions. Only 10 more to go, guys. I think I only need 10 more, and I'll have them all. Who knows? Maybe I can get those sometime and stuff, right? And then I'll show this last thing because I am spent, guys. God, we've been on here for a while. Okay, so here we go. The science fiction and fantasy. I got this for $4 at Ollie's. I told you I was with the crew. We finally got to hang out after what it felt like years and stuff, right? And a member of our crew just went ahead and started getting this book out and asking us trivia questions. I think we were getting most of them right and stuff like that. I went ahead and bought it just because it's interesting. And who knows, maybe on a live show sometimes I'll be whipping this out and maybe we'll have a trivia contest or something. Okay. All right, guys, I think that's it. I got a mess to do. I didn't really mean to go this long, which I always say, but we have a good time here. So anyway, thanks for everybody checking in here. I hope everybody has an excellent weekend. I hope everybody is excellent to each other. Thumbs up, like it, hit that thumb, hit the bell, subscribe, and share it. Let people know we're here and we talk comics. One last thing. I remember buying all the X-Men #1 covers when I first got into collecting and found out comics had bags and boards and stores that specialized in comics. Spent $50 on a long box, bags, boards, and was $15. That's a lot of money for that era and also to be $15. So I can just imagine, All right, guys. Thanks for checking in. Later.